Padding was the word, the very key term. If you go on Google, you will perhaps see it so many times come up. And now, what is it about the 2017 budget? The president promised that this time around things will be different. But was it? The 2017 budget was presented by President Muhammadu Buhari and was tagged the budget of recovery and growth. That document, the federal government believes, is capable of getting Nigeria out of recession. The budget ministry had said things will be done differently. It was a similar statement last year when the budget was tagged the budget of change. So you will ask now, what is the difference between the two budgets, 2016 and 2017, change and recovery and growth? Well, some will say the difference will be in the way and manner the budgets are prepared. They call it the zero budgeting style, which implies that the budget is prepared from the scratch. A rights group, the Center for Social Justice, has identified gray areas in the budget and highlighted items in the budget they say are frivolous. Let's get down to the matter now. Mr. Eze Onyekwere is the executive director of the organization, and he joins us from our Abuja studio now. Many thanks, Mr. Onyekwere, for joining us on Politics Today tonight. The president has said this year's budget will be different. With your analysis and for what you have come forward with in the 2016 and 2017 budget, you made some comparison between the two budgets. Is there any major difference now?
Well, not quite a lot of difference. We still have a lot of what we consider to be frivolous, inappropriate, unclear and wasteful expenditure. It's not about the appellation or the name that the budget is giving. It's about the details in terms of what it actually provides that will touch the lives of the people. Now, frivolous in terms of things that you consider should not be there are overpriced. Inappropriate in terms of, if you look at the conditions of Nigerians now, whether we should be busy putting those kind of things in the budget. Unclear in terms of expenditure heads that you will not be able to decipher what they are meant for, except you bring in those who crafted the budget. And this is supposed to be a budget that stakeholders should follow upon. And finally, of course, wasteful expenditure, which by its name is clearly wasteful. So there are quite a lot of them in the 2017 federal appropriation and estimates currently before the National Assembly.
Mr. Onyekwere, when we wonder, when they say zero budgeting, perhaps for some of us who are financially illiterate, you may want to give us a sense of what you're talking about here. A layman would think that that could mean that you're starting from the scratch. You're not using the same template of just copying and pasting and changing the figure from last year to this year and just doing the differentials. You're starting from basically what you need. Are you saying that in the 2017 budget is the same and same of what we have seen in 2015, 2014, and the rest?
It's still the same copy and paste. There is no zero about the zero-based budgeting system which they are referring to. If you are talking about zero-based budgeting, you are going to put everything on the chopping block. And that has not happened in this case. There's no way it can happen in a government system. So that's best for turnaround purposes in very large corporations that suddenly started making laws. Now, you still have a template that applies to all ministries, departments, and agencies. It applies whether it is Ministry A or Ministry B, whose terms of reference or mandates are quite different. So you have a situation, for instance, where you go to the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. That office is requesting for about 239 million naira for subscription to professional bodies. And you ask yourself, what manner of professional bodies and how many staff does that office have in the real sense of it? Virtually every MDA is asking for new vehicles. And you ask, what has happened to the pool of vehicles they had before? Computers is still the main thing that they're asking for. They're also asking for a lot of computer software. And these are agencies that even if you go into the office with all the computers and the software, they cannot retrieve a document without going into a dark room where the files are dated, and it will take them 1 week or two to give you simple information. And then some of them are still in the habit of asking for large sums of money for refreshment and meals, the kind of money that will make fast food chains very, very green with envy in terms of how much actually they used to run their whole national chains and still come out with a profit. And you still see a lot of money being asked, for instance, in the villa for issues around maintenance of buildings, Monies that you tell yourself that can construct new buildings entirely from the scratch. And you are asking for that kind of money for maintenance of buildings.
Mr.
You still have issues around kitchen equipment and kitchen utensils. Last year it was about 800 million. This year is about 80. So you ask yourself, do you simply waste or just throw away the utensils you bought last year because you've entered a new year? Okay. And in some ministries like the Ministry of Agriculture,
maybe we should give a sense of what you're talking about so our viewers can understand what you're talking about. Some of the things that you have highlighted here. So in graphics terms now, the State House headquarters, because there's State House in Korea and the rest and all of that, but State House headquarters in the budget, in the 2017 budget, if you look at it, computer software, that is the budget, 124 million naira. And that's the purchase of different equipment for software. And you have advised to say in 2016 budget, there was a provision of 198 million for the same budget head. Has the already purchased ones in 2016 spot? Now should we consider this? Let's look at another one that you have brought up in the 2017 budget, which has been tagged frivolous. Perhaps purchase of canteen kitchen equipment to the State House headquarters. Over 100 million naira for these. And the interesting part is that the State House voted 80 million in the 2016 budget to purchase same thing. Why the repeat of the same purchase in 2017? Let's go to yet another one. Honorarium and sitting allowance, 556 million over that is budgeted for that in the State House. They said, you have advised to say this is on the high side. Honorarium and sitting allowance, one we wonder, in a recession such as we are in Nigeria, these are some of those things. We're not just focusing on the State House. This is just what we can just pull out for the benefit of understanding of our viewers. If you look at these, Mr. Onyekwe, what do you think the problem really is? Do you think these are necessary, or do you think the president is really aware when he said things are different this time around?
Well, I would rather say that the buck stops at the table of the president. So there's no way this thing can come out for the State House, from the presidency, and the president feigns ignorance. Beyond the president, there are also other persons in the presidency who could have been able to vet it to make sure it tallies with what the president wants. I think the big challenge for the entire budgeting system is the absence of what I call a policy plan budgeting continuum. Budgets are supposed to be anchored by plans and policies. So when you remove plans and policies from the budget, it becomes a wish list of everybody inserting anything in the budget, and anything goes. Ideally, if they're doing zero-based budgeting or any kind of proper budgeting system, for every item that goes into that budget, you will justify it in terms of how it can be used to implement high-level policy positions of government. And the challenge here is that a good number of these things you listed are termed capital projects. So when you say you are doing 28 or 30% capital projects, and you are even borrowing money from the international community, from international financial institutions to fund capital budget, some of these things may go up to these frivolities. And at the end of the day, we will be bound to pay back this money. Right. So there's a lot of what I call administrative capital, which should be differentiated from the actual developmental capital. Developmental capital is those aspects of capital, those that build bridges, roads, schools, hospitals, and infrastructure that Nigerians can actually benefit from.
Just for a moment, let's come quickly to our Abuja. Just a moment, let's come quickly to our Lagos studio, where Mr. Ikechukwu Ikeji has since joined us. He's a policy analyst and a legal practitioner. Many thanks for coming on the program. The office of the Center for Social Justice, they've done a lot of work, over 100 pages of analysis of the 2017 budget, which we're just trying to make sense of. If you look at some of those things that we've highlighted and the kind of change that one will hope to see in the 2017 budget, would you say you're disappointed?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've always known personally that the mantra about corruption is deceptive, was deceptive, and is still deceptive.
Really?
Yes, I know. And today we've been proved right that it's a fluke. I thank Eze Onyekwe and his team for this detailed study. It just goes to show exactly what is going on inside of government, whereas outside of government, we get to hear all sorts of statements about the fight against corruption. So I am disappointed in the sense that I had thought that perhaps along the line I will be proved wrong, that what we need is a system change, not necessarily political change.
Mr. One of the things that the office of Mr. Oyekwere has highlighted, like you can see on the screen, in the State House headquarters, part of the budget is residential rent in the State House headquarters. And the question is, who is the landlord of the State House? Why are you going to be budgeting 77 million naira for residential rent? Who is renting it? Who is taking the rent?
I am struggling within myself presently to think about the fact that there would be a tenant inside of the State House and a landlord, and a tenant will be paying to a landlord 77 million naira. And where would the money go to? Who owns what and who is the landlord? And it is just a very, very sad commentary. Thankfully, we are seeing these things now before the appropriation bill becomes an act, before it becomes a law. So a lot of onus presently lies on the National Assembly to do the needful.
A lot of people will say that some of these things, the civil servants are the core of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, because, is it impossible that the president is not even aware of some of these items?
You see, it is not impossible that the president is not aware of it. And it is also possible that he is aware of it. Yes, the civil service is the heartbeat of government. The problem in Nigeria today is the civil service. A country is run as well and as good as its civil service. A country is clean as its civil service. A country is as corrupt as its civil service. And as such, what we are seeing today is a pure reflection of what the civil service is in Nigeria.